Well, hey everybody, how are you doing today? We have a mail call. So we're starting off Friday's video with a mail call, which is a bit different from our usual thing. So let's get it. It's a little parcel from Ben and Sarah at Giant Garrett Detectorists. And totally unexpected. I didn't know they were sending me anything. So let's open this up and see what they sent me. Alrighty, I'm going to turn the camera around if I can do that. Alrighty, so here's our little parcel from England. I'm just covering up the address, and I'm going to pop that open. You probably saw my address anyway. But it's a one-handed operation here. And there we go. Alright, see if I can get it open. Oh, it's a well-sealed little package here. There we go, back in the picture. Okay, here we go. We're back. Looks like we have a note. Let's have a look at our note. Oops. Close up the scissors. Oops, I'm not doing very well here with this one-handed videotaping thing here. Oh, isn't that nice? It's written, it's longhand. I love pen and paper. And it says, Hi Ian, thank you for the gifts, and I have to say they have gone straight into my collection. Also, thank you for being a great subscriber and always following our videos. Your support means a lot to us. All the best. I can't read the first part there, but your word-playing friend, Ben and Sarah. Okay, I've got this envelope open. Let's pull out the contents and see. Whoop, another envelope inside. Well, Ben, you certainly did a good job of wrapping this up here. Let's see if I can do that. Get this open somehow or other. I think it's a coin. Oh, some coins. Look at this. My goodness. Ben and Sarah, what did you do here? Make sure I got them all out. There we go. Oh, these are some lovely coins. What do we have here? We've got a... I always have to remember where the lens is on the camera. It's a ship's halfpenny, and it's Queen Elizabeth, so towards the end of the ship's halfpenny being put out. And here we have a tuppenny bit. Or actually, I guess two new pence. There's just two of the old pence. I'm not sure. What year is this? 2000, so it'd be two of the new pence. So I don't know if they call the new pence tuppence or not. Oh, here we have a George V from, what year is that? And there's Britannia. And this is 19... I can't quite make that out. 1920, I think it is. I have to get my little magnifying glass out. But definitely George V, and I think it's a penny, I'm not sure. It's pretty worn on the one side. Here we have Elizabeth 2011, and that is 1 penny, so that's one new penny. So we've got 2 pre-decimal and 2 decimal. This looks like a farthing here. Little, I believe it's a farthing. Is it a Wren farthing? Can't quite tell on the back. But a nice little quarter penny of the old ones. And another little coin here. That's yeah, I believe it's a Wren. No, that's too big for it. That must be a penny or a... Fortunately, my camera's not focusing here. Lovely, lovely old coins. Look at that. 10, that must be 10p. But I'm not sure if that's Queen Elizabeth, but I can't see the date on it, so I'm not sure if that's old money or new money. Ben and Sarah are probably watching this and chuckling at my ignorance here. I'm going to put that with the pre-decimal, but I could be wrong on that. What do we have here? We have 1 new pence. So that must be the ones before this one. Because I think they changed the money at some point. Isn't it funny how the size changed too, right? This is closer to this one's closer to the size of a Canadian, the old Canadian pennies. We don't use pennies in Canada anymore. Oh, that's neat. And what do we have here? We have try and turn it and see what I've got. I'm going to have to get out my jeweler's loupe and have a closer look at these at some point. I can't quite tell what that is. No refunds. Must be a token. I'm thinking it's a token of some sort. Actually, it looks better through my camera than it does on in my hand. Huh. And this lovely little coin here, with there's Queen Elizabeth again, young Queen Elizabeth. And that is a 3 pence, 1961. So that's a threepenny bit. That's the pre-decimal. So there we go. That's a nice, looks like a portcullis on the back there, the iron gate they would drop in the entrance to the castle and they're under attack. But well, that's beautiful. Well, Ben and Sarah, thank you so much. I'm deeply touched. This, you can see this nice collection of British coinage, and yeah, that's just amazing. These will go into my collection bin. They won't be traded off or given away. They'll go into my nice little collection of coins from around the world. And I just truly am touched and very much appreciate this generous gift on your part. So Ben and Sarah, God bless you. Take care, and we'll carry on here in a minute with our shout-outs, our Frank and Abby Answers Man Mystery Chapter 7, and our Groaner of the Week. So stand by. Well, we'll carry on now after we had that lovely mail call from Ben and Sarah of Giant Garrett Detectorists. So that's our first shout out. So again, up here or up here, I'll have the speech bubble with the name of the channel in there, and I will also put links in the description. So if you go to the description area under this video, you will find links to the 4 channels I'm going to shout out, and also links to the previous chapters of Frank and Abby. So if this is your first time watching, we're reading chapter 7 today, so you might want to go back and watch the first 6 chapters so you know what's happening in the story, because you don't want to find out the butler did it before you even know what's going on, right? What? The butler did what? What did he do? He polished the silver. There we go. So our first shout out was Giant Garrett Detectorists. Our second shout out for today is Detector Jim. And well, Ben and Sarah, Giant Garrett Detectorists, and Detector Jim, they do primarily metal detecting videos. My wife told me I need to quit leaning on the arm because it makes me look like I'm lopsided. But I like to be comfortable. So anyway, so Detector Jim, metal detecting channel, great channel, go check them out. Check out Ben and Sarah as well. You'll enjoy Ben's sense of humor. And he does this little thing at the beginning. There's no prizes or anything, but he usually whistles a tune, and you have to kind of guess what the tune is he's whistling. If you want to, you don't have to do that, but if you want to, you can put in your submission in the bottom and saying it's, you know, Edison Lighthouse's what Edison Lighthouse thing? I forget now. Anyway, love grows where my rosemary goes. That's what they sang, amongst other things. Okay, so Detector Jim. The next one is Little John Metal Detecting. Guess what he does? Yeah, I watch a lot of metal detecting shows. So I do metal detecting myself. I just don't. It's not my YouTube video thing. I do this on Fridays, and on Tuesdays I do cooking and baking. So those are my contributions to the YouTube world, and I don't want to steal somebody else's thunder or shine off their metal finds by starting to put up another set of videos on metal detecting. I don't get out as often as other people do either, so it would be kind of hit and miss. Alrighty, so Little John Metal Detecting, and he has a great channel. Not only does he do metal detecting, but he also does ones, he's just done a sort of series of looking at his coin collection and what he has, and a little of the history behind them and that sort of thing. So very interesting gentleman. encourage you to check out Little John metal detecting. And the last one is a lovely couple of little doggies, and they're just cute as all get out, and I just love watching them. And it's Wags and Whisk. I believe that's their names, Wags and Whisk, and they're they just are the cutest little dog. So just fun to watch and entertaining. And their owner is a missionary over in Asia, I believe in Thailand. I may have that wrong, and if I do, I apologize. But anyway, but the show is not about the missionary work. It's about Wags and Whisk and their little antics that they get into and things. So check out Wags and Whisk, Little John metal detecting, Detector Jim, and Giant Garrett Detectorists. All right, so that's our shout-outs for this week. And now we're on to Chapter 7 of The Answers Man. Or do you want me just to skip Chapter 7 and go right to Chapter 8? Oh, you want me to read Chapter 7? Okay. I will do that in that case. But I have to find it here. How did I not have myself in place? There we go. So, picking up at the end of Chapter 6, which was where he was laying in bed thinking about the Ford's Van Gogh, if you remember that little part. And that was on Tuesday night. So here we go. Wednesday morning, following our daily devotional time, we headed off to hunt down the 6 blue vans on our list. 3 of the 6 addresses were in Lauder City, 1 in Kirby, 1 in Gainesville, and of course 1 in Gurneyville. Rather than head right to Lauder City, we took a detour and checked out the van in Kirby. It was a wasted trip, as the Kirby van was nicely restored and painted a sparkling royal blue with a mural of a raging bull on each side. Say, I forgot to tell you last night, but I was unable to get in touch with Debbie yesterday, Abby said. She must not believe in answering machines either, so I couldn't leave a message. I'll have to try again tomorrow. That's all right. Let's see what we can find out today, and then we'll worry about substantiating alibis. Who knows? If we find the right van, we may not need to check on Jared after all. We didn't fare any better with the 3 in Lauder City either. Only 1 was a pale blue, well, at least there where it wasn't covered with red primer, and showed no traces of an old FTD logo. The other 2 were dark blue, and 1 had a plumbing company logo on the doors. We stopped at a Denny's for lunch, and while waiting for our order, I phoned Mr. Gregg and saved us a trip to Gurneyville. A 2-minute phone conversation eliminated the hardware store van from our list. Mr. Gregg had owned his van since it was new, and had never had his store's name, let alone an FTD sticker on it. That left us with one... I'm sorry, it wasn't Gurneyville, it was... yes, it was Gurneyville, sorry. That... I think I made a mistake in my writing. I think that was supposed to be... that was supposed to be Gainesville, I believe. Anyway, let's carry on. Save ourselves a drive. But in the same breath, ruled out doing so when she realized that if the owner was involved, he or she would just lie to us. I paid for our meal, and we headed out to the car. We were just pulling out of the parking lot when Abby's cell phone rang. It was her quote-unquote contact with the Lauder City Police Department. After a short conversation, she hung up. Well, that saves us a trip to Gainesville. The police just impounded the van we were looking for. Mike says it was found abandoned over in the warehouse district. It's pale blue, has an FTD mark on the side, and a rolled-up carpet in the back. Did he say who the owner is? I asked. No, but that very likely wouldn't help anyway. They ran the VIN number and found it listed as a stolen vehicle from Kansas. The license plates on it were stolen last Tuesday from a mall parking lot here in Lauder City. So no luck there either. I thought about what we had learned and made an executive decision. Can you find out who's handling Pastor Wainwright's missing person case? I think it's time we take what information we have to the police. Abby called Mike back and asked him who was handling the case. She had to wait several minutes while he checked, and when she received the answer, she muttered something under her breath that I couldn't make out. Is there a problem? I inquired. Not really, it's just that the guy who's handling Pastor Wainwright's case is a jerk. He's the type that thinks he's God's gift to police work, but to whom the chief gives the low priority cases. He has a record for dropping the ball more times than not. I think the only reason he's able to keep his job is because he's the mayor's nephew. After meeting Detective Monroe, I could see why Abby wasn't impressed. He listened to the information we had with a look of boredom on his mug, took no notes, then waved a dismissing hand at us and said in a condescending tone, "Thanks for the info, but I don't need help from amateurs, so why don't you run along and leave the detecting to professionals? Besides, the case is closed." What do you mean the case is closed? A man has been missing for over a week, and he disappeared under strange circumstances, so how can you close the case? I asked, trying my best to remain calm. The missing guy, Wainwright, he phoned here to the station and asked to speak to whoever was handling the case. I talked to him and found out that we were right, and the guy just snapped from the stress and walked out. He's staying with his brother in Bodie, California. Well, yes, but how do you know it was him? Anyone could call you and claim it was him. Claim to be him, I challenged. Simple. He told me he had called his mother to let her know where he was. So I called his mother and asked her if she'd heard from her son, and she said yes. So as I told you before, the case is closed. There's no missing person. Now, if you don't mind, I have some work to do. Then he ignored us and turned back to playing solitaire on his desk computer. Needless to say, Abby and I were a bit stunned. If what we had just been told was true, then we had been wasting our time and energy for nothing. Neither Abby nor I said a word during the long drive back to Ryeville. I think each of us was deep in our own thoughts, trying to make the pieces of the puzzle fit. Back at the office, I headed to the lunchroom and put on a fresh pot of coffee. The only upside I could see to the whole mess was that due to the contract Fate had signed, we would still get paid. Once I saw the coffee dripping into the carafe, I decided to give Fate a call and see where to send the final bill. Frank, come and listen to this. Abby's excited voice cut through my thoughts. I double-checked the coffee maker and then walked out to Abby's desk. Listen, she said, as she pushed the play button on the answering machine. Hi, Frank and Abby. This is Fate. Please call me as soon as you get this. It's urgent. Pastor Dennis's mom got a call from him, but she says something isn't right. Please call back as soon as possible. Thanks. The machine's mechanical voice buzzed. Wednesday, 1:15 p.m., then clicked off. I headed to my office with Abby close on my heels. Once settled in my desk chair, I picked up the handset and placed the call to Fate. Hello? Fate's voice answered, and I switched over to speakerphone. Hi, Fate, it's Frank. We just talked to Detective Monroe over at the Lauder City Police Department, and we're told that Pastor Wainwright has been located and the case is closed. That's because the guy's an idiot. Frank's anger was clear in his voice. Pastor Dennis's mother said she tried to tell Monroe that something was wrong with the call, but he wouldn't listen. He just asked if the voice was that of her son. When she said yes, he merely replied, "Well then, that's that," and hung up on her. She phoned back and told Monroe that the pastor is an only child and doesn't have a brother. His response was, "Well, you know those religious types. To them, everyone is a brother or sister." Then he hung up on her again. Fate, please bear with me, but I have to ask this. Would Pastor Wainwright refer to a fellow Christian as his brother? I asked. He never has in all the years I've known him. Oh, and another thing, that's odd. Pastor's mom said that Bodie was the name of the family dog when the pastor was a little kid, and that to her knowledge he doesn't know anyone in California. I guess what I'm saying, Frank, is that in spite of what Detective Monroe says, we still think Pastor has been abducted and want you to keep looking. All right, Frank, we'll keep digging. The good news is that wherever he is, Pastor Wainwright is still alive. I guess the first thing we should do is check and see if the pastor might actually be staying with someone in Bodie, California. If he isn't, I think that will be the case. Sorry, let me reread that. If he isn't, and I think that will be the case, we'll need to start back at square one and look again at motive, means, and opportunity. Abby came around the desk and leaned past me to access my computer. She quickly linked to the internet and typed Bodie, California into the search engine. The response was quick and told us we needed to look no further in that direction. Bodie, California is a ghost town and is now a National Historic Landmark and a State of California Historic Park. No one lives there for the pastor to be visiting or staying with. I think the pastor must have made that phone call under duress, Abby contributed as she sat on the edge of the desk. His kidnappers likely made him make the call in order to get everyone to stop looking for him. I agree with you. I also think he was trying to tell his mother something through what he said, but what? I leaned back in my chair and looked at Abby. I think that tomorrow we need to pay the pastor's mother a call and have her take us through the phone call word for word. Perhaps something he said will trigger a memory for her and give us a clue. We? Who's going to mind the office if I go with you? Abby asked with a twinkle in her eye. Given the huge volume of traffic beating a path to our door, seeking our services, I think we can get away with closing the office for a day, I countered. Besides, with that fancy smartphone Sam insisted we needed, we won't really be out of touch. We'll put the phone on call forwarding and check the emails periodically. It'll be fine. Why the sudden concern? It didn't seem to bother you to be away from the office today. Yes, you're right, but it will make 2 days in a row. However, having said that, I'll come with you because if I stay here, I'll go crazy wondering what you are learning, and I don't think I could wait until tomorrow afternoon or whenever it would be that you got back to find out. At least you're open and honest about your curiosity. Some people would just sneak around to find out what they wanted to know. All right, let's close up shop for today, and I'll see you here at 8 a.m. as usual. Say hi to your mom. I enjoyed meeting her the other night. I'll tell her you said so. She really likes you, and the fact that you cook and play cards is a plus. Good night, Frank. Good night, Abby. I locked the outside door after her, turned out the lights, and headed upstairs. It had been a long day, and I wanted nothing more than a bite to eat and a good long sleep. I could only pray that God would guide me through this tangled mess of clues and help me to find the pastor before it was too late. I lay in bed that night wondering what ghost towns and a long-dead dog had to do with where the pastor might be. Not an inkling of an answer came to me, but sleep eventually did. And that's the end of Chapter 7. So tune in next week, same time, same station, and probably same background for Chapter 8 of the Frank and Abby mystery, The Answers Man. All right, now the moment you've all either been dreading or waiting for, the groaner of the week. Well, this is going back to the days when there were traveling salesmen and door-to-door salesmen, and this fellow was doing his rounds. We'll call him a Watkins man. How many of you remember Watkins? No? Well, then we could call him a Fuller Brush man. Do you remember the Fuller Brushman? Encyclopedia salesman? Come on, some of you got to be the same age as me. Anyway, we'll call him the Fuller Brushman. How's that? So Fuller Brushman's making his rounds, and he's got a new territory to cover. And he goes from farm to farm, and he's out in the country, of course. And finally pulls into this one farmyard, and as he gets out of his car to go to the house, he sees this huge pig walk past him. And he looks, and this pig is probably 3.5 feet high at the back. And that's not what catches his attention, though. As the pig walks by, he notices that one of the pig's back legs is missing, and the pig has a wooden leg. And he looks like a pig with a wooden leg. What's going on with that? Well, he starts walking towards the house, and just around the corner of the house comes the farmer. And he kind of stops for a second because he's taken aback. There's somebody there, and he goes, "Oh, hi, can I help you?" Says, yes, I'm the Fuller Brushman. I just took this territory over, and I stopped by to introduce myself and see if there's anything you and your wife might need. And so my name is George Vogel. And he puts out his hand, and the farmer says, oh, nice to meet you, George. I'm Peter Ramikoff. Oh, it's nice to meet you, Peter. Oh, just call me Pete. Oh, it's nice to meet you, Pete. All right, let's go see if the wife needs anything. And the salesman says, so, just a minute, Pete, before we go do that, I have to ask you a question. Yeah, well, what's that? He says, well, when I got out of my car, he said, this great big pig walked past me, and it had a wooden leg. Oh, yeah, George, don't worry about him. That's Simon. That's our pig Simon. We've had him since he was just a little piglet. And he's a big boy now. Yep. Well, that's great, but why does he have a wooden leg? Oh, well, let me tell you about Simon. He says, you probably noticed when I came around the corner, I walked with a bit of a limp. Well, yeah, I did, but what's that got to do with Simon? Well, you see, quite a few years ago, Simon would have been probably a year and a half old. I was out working in the field, and something got hung up, and I got off the tractor to try and fix it, and I'd forgotten to take the tractor out of gear, and the darn thing rolled over my leg. And then it stopped. So there I was, with my leg underneath the back tire of the tractor, pinned to the ground, couldn't move. And I seemed like I was there for a while hollering for help, and nobody was hearing me, and all of a sudden, here's Simon. And Simon looked at me, and he tried to push. He had literally used his head and tried to push the tractor off me, but he couldn't do it. So off he trotted, and I thought, oh, geez, I'm stuck here until somebody misses me and comes looking. But darned if Simon didn't go back to the yard, climbed up on the front porch, and banged the screen door until my wife came to see what was wrong. And then he wouldn't leave her alone till she followed him, and he brought her out to where I was, and she ran back to the house, called for help, and the neighbors came over, and they called the ambulance, and here I am. Yeah, I got a little bit of a limp, but Simon saved my life. I to this day can contribute. I could have died out there, and Simon saved my life. Well, Pete, that's great. That's wonderful. Smart pig, but that doesn't explain why he has a wooden leg. Why does the pig have a wooden leg? Well, let me tell you about Simon. My grandkids were here visiting. Probably Simon was probably 2 by that time, probably about 6 months after the first incident. And I was putting grain up, using an auger and putting grain up into one of the bins. And I didn't notice, but one of my grandkids happened to get too close, and their coat got caught in the auger, and it started to pull them in. And that would have been a horrible death. Could you imagine your grandchild getting augered? Yeah, not nice. But darned if Simon wasn't there. Just happened to be there, saw what was going on, and bumped the emergency switch with his nose and shut the thing down just a fraction of a second before little Joni would have probably lost her arm. So, that pig saved my granddaughter's life. So he saved my life, he saved my granddaughter's life. He's a fantastic pig, really wonderful, wonderful pig. Well, Pete, I'm not going to argue with you. Yeah, that's pretty amazing that a pig would, do that and know to hit that emergency stop button. And it's amazing that they recognize there was an issue to start with, but yeah, that's amazing. I agree with you. Fantastic pig. Wow. But why does it have a wooden leg? Well, George, a pig like that, you don't want to eat it all at once. There you go. So maybe we'll cook ham on Tuesday. Anyway, have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Tune in on Tuesday for our cooking/baking show, and we'll see what mischief we can get into in the kitchen. Until then, take care, stay safe, and God bless.
Like a bird on a tree,